And the #1 rarest bird in the United States is... I'm at Green Canyon in Logan, Utah, and I'm out here just birding, looking for some amazing birds. We've started off the day with a lazuli bunting, one of the most beautiful birds in North America. It's got that baby blue color, that orange bib. And I thought it would be cool today if we talked about the 5 rarest birds in the United States while we walk around and bird this area. I think it'd be a really interesting video for you guys. So let's see what birds we can find, and let's also talk about the 5 rarest birds in the United States. And you know how we always start this list? We start them with some honorable mentions. So the first one is an owl species. Most owl species are pretty difficult to find. Burrowing owls, I would say, are probably the easiest to find. But in my opinion, the rarest owl species to find in the US is the elf owl. It is the smallest owl species in the US. It is the size of a sparrow. It is so small. It's like this big. It lives in a very small range in the US as well. It's only in the southwestern part of the United States, and that's the southwestern part of the US as well. And to make things difficult, they're nocturnal, so they're already hard to find because it's pitch black dark when they finally come out. I get it. There's a few places obviously where they're locally common. People know where they're nesting here or there, but that doesn't mean that they're not rare. The next honorable mention that I want to add to this list is the Nene. This is a native bird to Hawaii, and you can also only see it in the wild in Hawaii as well. At one point, its numbers dropped all the way down to 30 birds, and that was primarily due to hunting. Also, the introduction of invasive species like the mongoose, feral cats, rats to the island did not help. However, today the population does sit around 2,000, which brings it just off of our US most rare bird list. There are lazuli buntings absolutely everywhere. I've probably seen around 20. I've probably heard around 40 or 50. They have filled up this canyon today. I'm not complaining. They're one of the most beautiful birds in my opinion. There's also a ton of dragonflies flying all over the place. Hundreds of them above my head right now. That's absolutely incredible as well. Number 5 of the top 5 rarest birds in the US goes to the Gunnison sage grouse. Now, the reason this bird makes the list is that, one, it's really hard to see. In most cases, you have to kind of go through special programs to see these severely endangered birds. And then also, they're highly protected as well. They're on this list because they have disappeared from 90% of their formal range. That is absolutely insane. Most of that is due to habitat loss. There's about 3,000 to 4,000 birds estimated to be in the wild. And I know that's more than the Nene, but the Nene's range is a small island. And the Gunnison sage grouse range was all over these plains out here, Colorado, and that type of area. And so it's unfortunate to see this bird decline. Hopefully conservation efforts continue to help the populations grow. But if we don't do something more, we could lose this bird in the next couple of decades for sure. So this forest is pretty dense, which makes birding kind of difficult unless you have your ears. And obviously birding by ear is not super entertaining for you guys. Hence why I am doing this, the top 5 rarest US birds as well in this video. The lazuli buntings have literally made no room for any other birds out here. I continue to see dozens of them as I walk along this trail. But just to keep you updated on birds that I've heard and some that I've seen, but just haven't gotten them on camera. First bird I heard actually when I got out of the car was a yellow-breasted chat. That would be a camera lifer. Unfortunately, I sat there for a while and could not get that on camera. We've also been hearing western tanagers out there, which I recently featured in my last video. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. One of the most beautiful birds in North America. Broad-tailed hummingbirds I've been seeing and hearing all over the place. It's just really hard to capture hummingbirds on camera, unfortunately. And then spotted towhee's the other one that I've heard a lot, as well as warbling vireo. So quite a few birds out calling, not a lot of birds up singing where I can get them on camera. But let's move on to the 4th bird on my list. Number 4 goes to the Kirtland's warbler. Now, this is one of the largest warblers in the United States. It's an absolutely beautiful warbler. The problem is it has a very small range. And another thing that makes it rare and hard to find is that you rarely see it during migration. In the winter, it spends its time down in the Bahamas, so you can go down there and see it. But during the summer months in the US, it's in northern Michigan and Wisconsin as well. So this bird is just incredibly difficult to find for a lot of birders. Its small range and the lack of movement and being able to see it during migration makes it a very coveted bird and a very rare one to add to our list. Problem with birding in a canyon like this is that the sun actually seems to go down a little bit earlier because of the angle. The sun's still up for most of Cache County. It's behind the hillside here. The nice thing is some of the birds become a little bit more active earlier, but the bad thing is that as a videographer trying to film the birds, you start to lose focus. So let's move on to number 3 of the most rarest birds in the US. At number 3 on the list is the island scrubjay. This is the largest scrubjay species. The only way you can tell it apart from the California scrubjay is its range. It sits just off the coast of Southern California on a little tiny island, and that island is called the island of Santa Cruz. Now this bird is rare because it's only found on that one small island. It's locally common. Obviously, if you go to the island, you'll be able to see it, but it's on this list because it's just in a small speck of the world, and that is the island scrubjay. Extremely rare bird. Hope to see one someday. This would be a super nice place to camp. You got a campfire here, lots of tree cover, level ground. Someone left a dog bowl here. I mean, what more could you ask for? What also makes this trail difficult to bird is just the amount of bikers, hammockers, campers. There seems to be someone every couple hundred of yards on this trail. I'm not complaining. We get to talk about 5 amazing creatures today, 5 amazing birds, and potentially we can get a few more species on camera as well. We got a symphony of hermit thrush calls going on right now. One of the most beautiful calls out there. There's also an American robin joining them. Not as pretty, still a pretty call though. I'm gonna turn around right now so I'm not walking in pitch black darkness the whole way. Try to get back to the parking lot, see if we can pick up any birds. Seems like the birds were much more active down near where the sun was at. I would love to hear a common poorwill though, so we're gonna keep our ears open for that. I also need a lot of impids for Cache County specifically. Western wood pewee would be probably the one that I would need the most. Hammond's flycatcher for Cache County, even though we've seen them everywhere else. So yeah, we're gonna head back down towards our car, see if we can pick up anything else, and talk about the second rarest bird on our list. Number 2 on our list goes to the whooping crane. Now this bird is extremely endangered. It at one point dropped down tremendously low, and right now there are only about a couple hundred in the wild. And it is also a cousin to the sandhill crane, so that's pretty cool as well. Obviously the sandhill crane numbers were dipping tremendously earlier on. They've recovered a lot more than the whooping crane. They're still endangered in certain states, like I believe the state of Washington. So that's pretty interesting, but whooping cranes have had a tremendous comeback, now up to a couple hundred individuals, and they have a really cool story as well. I believe when they were captive raising them, they actually played whooping crane calls out of an airplane and had the whooping cranes follow them so they could learn their migratory path. So that's pretty amazing. Hopefully these birds continue to bounce back. I would love to see one of those birds. That's one I haven't seen. Actually, most of these on the list I haven't seen, except for number 1 I have seen. So maybe that'll give you a hint. Those of you who have watched the channel for a while, which bird that is. But whooping crane, number 2 on the list. Also, I know I don't ask this very often, at least in person, face to face, but if y'all could subscribe if you haven't, it's free, no cost to you. It really helps me on the channel. About 65% of you that watch my channel are not subscribed. And I would love to have you guys be part of this journey with me into the future as well, where we can find birds all over the world. As we drop down lower, we got more shots of some lazuli bunting. Again, I'm not complaining. It's a wonderful bird to have an abundance of. I was just hoping to get a few other species on camera today, but I guess that'll have to be for another video. I got an American robin on camera. I try to be excited about the common birds and the non-common birds because for some people, that is the first time someone might be seeing that bird. And although American robins are extremely common, they're extremely magnificent creatures. So American robin on the list. We didn't get completely skunked by lazuli buntings. Just heard a canyon wren. That's another target species that I have on my list. I've only ever gotten one on camera before, and that was last year. I scanned the rocks and couldn't see it. Plus it's getting dark, so canyon wren added to Cache County year list. I needed that bird for Cache County. Super excited about that one. Let's see if we can get some common nighthawks, common poorwills, some of these more evening birds. Also, I came across this huge cave, and I'm just curious. I honestly, I don't remember seeing it when I walked this trail in the winter last year, but I really wonder what type of bat species live in that cave. I'm sure there's some type of bat taking residence up in there, so let me know if you know what bats live in northern Utah. And the number 1 rarest bird on this list is the California condor. I have seen the California condor. Again, it is a bird that is locally common, meaning if you go to the right spot, you'll probably see them. But they're extremely rare due to their numbers. Less than 500 exist in the entire world in the wild. And also, at one point, they dropped below 30 birds total. Now their comeback story is amazing. Conservation efforts has helped them bounce back, but they are one of the most amazing birds. They've got a 9.5 to a 10-foot wingspan, making them the largest wingspan in the United States. They're absolutely majestic, amazing. Let me know in the comments below, have you seen any of these rare birds on your own life list? Just got really good footage of a yellow warbler. That's another bird to add to our list. You know, this is basically evening birding before the sun goes down. It's that last couple moments before the sun drops below the horizon and those birds are kind of super active. So not great lighting for filming, but we have picked up a few extra species. Also, the dragonflies out here are insane. This is a feast for a common nighthawk or a common poorwill. I can't believe I haven't seen any of those yet. Maybe it's not dark enough. Right after I finished that last clip, right on cue, common nighthawk flying across the horizon over here. And honestly, I heard it first. It's got a pretty cool call, but common nighthawk on my Cache County list, finally. That's been a big empty spot for the last couple of months, but I'm super glad to pick that up. Birding isn't always about finding a ton of birds. A lot of times birding is about enjoying nature. And even though we didn't see a ton of birds today or get a ton of birds on camera, the sunset that I'm looking at right now is absolutely amazing. It makes this entire trip worth it. Just being out in nature makes this trip worth it. So just remember that as you're birding, you might not have the best day as far as bird count goes. You might have amazing views like this to make it all worth it. That's gonna do it for this video, guys. Let me know in the comments below what rare birds in the US did I leave off this list. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. I hope to see you all next time on Bright Eyed Birding.